You've called it an intellectual Navy SEAL type experience. What does the hiring process entail?
Well, there are three broad categories of things that people bring with them that we look at: values, abilities, and skills. Values are like, what are you working for? What is the thing that excites you? What's your passion, and what is your goal? Abilities are those natural abilities. Some people are creative, some people are reliable, some people could do math, some people could do art. Those are the abilities. And skills are the things that you learn. You learn to program, you learn to speak a language, those kinds of things. I think that most companies hire mostly for skills. I think that's the least important thing. I think the most important thing is the values. What are we going to be like together? So to describe Bridgewater and what I think is a great path to success is I wanted an idea meritocracy in which the goals were to have meaningful work and meaningful relationships, and to get there through radical truthfulness, meaning we'll talk about anything, bring your ideas on the table, well, let's knock them around, and radical transparency, meaning everybody can pretty much see everything so that there's no spin and it's not hidden. That was my magic formula for success.
You've spoken about how there's high turnover in the first 18-ish months of a new employee coming, but then it's much lower over time. Explain why.
Well, it's this tough love, and also very high standards. So like you did, I described it as an intellectual Navy SEALs. A lot of people come, they say, I'm eager to be here, and so on. We make sure that they know what it's like. And it's very appealing for people who want to find out what are their strengths and weaknesses, and also want to build on those weaknesses, but to learn about. Do you want to know your weaknesses? And so that could be challenging for some of them.
I think most of the time somebody comes in and they get hired into some high level job and everybody sort of bows down to them and they're the new boss, And what happens in our place is that doesn't happen that way. It's kind of like, okay, now you start from scratch. I'd say that's the biggest dividing line. Do they care a lot more about what you think of them, or do they care more about actually improving? People who value personal improvement respond very well to feedback because that's fuel to improve, right? If my main goal is to improve, please, please, please bring it on, because now I have more fuel to get better.
And so there's a washout period, sort of, for those reasons. But it would be almost like a Navy SEAL or somebody. Once you get into the mission and you're into, like, I want to get stronger and have those meaningful work and those meaningful relationships, that's a high. That's something that you can't replace by a normal job in which you walk into a company and you don't have those kinds of relationships. You don't have that. A lot of environments, you can't go into the company and you can't say what you really think. You can't be critical of your boss. You can't be critical of other bosses. You can't work yourself through disagreements.
Bridgewater people can be critical of you regardless of
seniority
level.
Yeah, it's not meant in any way nasty. And so it would be like a team. You have to field a great team. And when you do, the coach or somebody's going to say, okay, well, you're just not, sinking the baskets or throwing the blocks or whatever it is. And you have to talk about that and how to deal with that.
The culture of Bridgewater's obviously gotten a lot of attention over the years, and it has to be understandably irritating when you feel like media outlets get it wrong.
In many cases, the story is more important than the truth. And so people will sort of take something and make it distorted. So when it's done intentionally, but it's not just to me. It's when I read the news and I know the other circumstances. That's why it's really good to have a legal system or a system in which there's a way of finding out what's true. But there's a lot of absence of truth in the media.
An aspect that's gotten a lot of attention, it has to do with like monitoring employees. Explain what Bridgewater does and the value that you see in that.
It's not monitoring employees. It's that almost everything is taped for anybody to listen to. Like I have a rule, you can't talk behind somebody's back critically. Basically, if you're critically talking behind somebody's back, like 3 times, you're out. You can bring it up openly and you can talk about anything openly. So the idea of being able to let anybody into most conversations is a transparency question, not a monitoring question like that. It's not like that.
Tell about the baseball card system.
What we do is we collect a lot of data. And then what that does is it creates a lot of information. And that information creates a pointillist picture of you. So think about it like a baseball card. Okay, what's your runs batted in? What are the different people think your strengths and weaknesses are? It's a lot of that transparency, that kind of information. That's what a baseball card is. What we can do from that data, which is been invaluable, is we can see who succeeds in jobs and what their attributes are. Well, the more data that you have along those lines, you can use to say, what are the attributes that make those people successful in that type of job? And from that, you can create a job specification. In other words, I want these types of measurements of that type of person. And you can go out there and look for those qualities to get the great fit, or you can look within your organization who has those qualities that fit best for that kind of job. So it's invaluable.